Happy Thursday and welcome to today's very special episode of Veeam Tech Bites. I'm Rick Vanover, the Rickatron, coming to you live from Central Ohio, and I have a very special guest today, Matt Slotten. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm great. It's good. I slept well. Excited about Kasten V8. Excited to be here, Rick. So yeah,
Oh,
really stoked.
I wish I could say I slept well. I did the security field day event yesterday in California and had a red eye flight that was 3 hours delayed. I made it here for you, though. We made it happen. It's outstanding. So, Matt, you're based in, let's just call it Georgia,
Mhm.
USA. That's right. I'm in Central Ohio. We have our producer, Jeffrey, coming to you live from the Barncade. And we also have our other producer, Felicia, coming from the Dallas metro area. We want to know where you are tuning in from. So, we're live on several streams. I see a really smart Kubernetes native individual tuning in from Canada. Jeff, I'm going to give you a like. So we've got a friendly on it already, but let us know what US state or what country you're tuning in from. We got a really cool map that our producers like to do. We'll get it going here in a bit. And it's always cool to light it up and see where people are tuning in from. But Matt, today, the topic is Kasten version 8. And I guess maybe we should start with a little introduction. Your role, we had that up there just a second ago. Tell us about your role here at Veeam.
For sure. Yeah. So again, very excited to be here. Name's Matt Slotten. I'm a principal solution architect here at Veeam, focused on our Kasten product. I think my official title is technically cloud native technical partnerships. But like the other Matt in Kasten, we just say we wear a lot of different hats. So I
Yeah.
kind of split the difference. Work a lot with our cloud native partners, like some Red Hat, SUSE, and of course, the hyperscalers, but also our storage partners, and then also just creating content demos, blogs, all the fun stuff.
Indeed, and you've done a great job with this product over the years. We just launched version 8, I believe, in conjunction with the Red Hat Summit event last week or 2 weeks ago. Can't quite remember. But let's take a look at some slides here. And this is big news for this product, but walk us through a little bit of the timeline to get us to this version 8 milestone.
For sure. Yeah. So one thing I'd like to highlight, especially as we continue to kind of grow and uptick, is we are on version 8, right? So this is still a relatively, I won't say nascent, like we're seeing a lot more adoption among enterprise and, commercial or even, home labbers of Kubernetes. But I just want to underscore that, yeah, Kasten, we've been around for a little while. We are the leader in cloud native backup. I think at this point, 5 years in a row recognized by GigaOM, if not six. We're getting close to six. But yeah, so obviously a lot of kind of history with Kubernetes. We're very involved in the Kubernetes ecosystem. A number of our engineers are active SIG or special interest group, either leaders or contributors. We've done things like donated canister to the CNCF, which we're very proud of. We've also helped implement the change block tracking standard within the container storage interface, or CSI standard. So yeah, definitely, we like to think of ourselves as stewards of the environment of the Kubernetes community. Very excited to be part of it. And yeah, as you can see here, I won't read through all of the things, but at high level, starting at 6.5, we started introducing more kind of enterprise capabilities, security as well. You'll see Iron Bank and software bill of materials. That's for a lot of our federal government customers. And of course, things like, Datadog scene, pretty important there for observability and security. You can see the progression here, obviously focus on security, onboarding additional platforms, our good friends at Microsoft. We've obviously partnered pretty closely with them. So having things like blob immutability support or Sentinel seem pretty important for us. 7.5 is really where we started honing our performance based on direct kind of customer use and feedback, right? So we've got a number of enterprise customers that are running thousands or tens of thousands of containers, moving terabytes, or in some cases petabytes of data. So very interesting from a computer science and scale perspective. But as a result of that, we enhanced the product to ensure that we could better support them, ensure that we're meeting SLAs, ensuring that we can move those large workloads for them. Another one that's close to my heart is the bottom bullet there. We offer, since 7.5 is SUSE virtualization's initial support or limited support today. We actually are looking to hopefully onboard full support for SUSE virtualization. There's a couple caveats when it comes to storage and image management that we're still working through, but definitely an exciting product. We're talking about things like KubeVirt and modern virtualization, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little bit more here, Rick. And then last thing, version 8, before I give you a chance, because I do have a tendency to suck up all the wind in the room. Version 8, a big emphasis on security, and of course, furthering that operations at scale, and really introducing more user-friendly capabilities within the product, which we'll take a look at hopefully later here in a demo. And then the last point, it's just one point, but it encompasses a lot of things I alluded to earlier, modern virtualization. So really building on our support for KubeVirt workloads like OpenShift virtualization and SUSE virtualization. We're seeing rapid adoption within the industry, and definitely we like to be the leaders in that space, supporting that. We're Veeam. We know VMs in our core, right? So we got to make sure we can support that.
Speaking of leaders here, one of the things that always stuck out to me with the roadmap here is that we brought Google Cloud Object Storage Immutability here before we brought it to Veeam Data Platform, and that actually was kind of also really kind of interesting. But if you think about the nature of the GKE, it's such a strong platform for Kubernetes there. That kind of made sense. But I love it also because a lot of these themes are consistent with different themes across the portfolio. And one thing I want to highlight here is Jeff on the chat, Jeff Burke, the notorious KGG. Love this guy. He says, quote, Kasten without a doubt, #1 in Kubernetes data protection. Thank you, Jeff, joining from Canada. And by the way, let us know where you're tuning in from. Got a map that's getting built. Our producers will come to that here in a bit. But I mentioned that some of these themes, Matt, are around consistent across the portfolio. Security is welcome everywhere. We talk about it with Veeam Data Platform. We talk about it with Veeam Data Cloud. And what is kind of the mindset of where version 8 is going when it comes to security?
For sure. Yeah. So we have definitely, high level, because this is a new space. It's obviously very exciting, within Kubernetes, a lot of opportunity here, but there's also a lot of unknowns when we're looking at deploying workloads into Kubernetes, whether it's containers or virtualization or both. So really what we want to do is position ourselves from a product perspective as helping you and your organization essentially modernize and also do so in a secure way. Try to avoid those unknown unknowns, and also just being good stewards when it comes to things like software development, right? So, ISO 27001, that was just recently got the stamp of approval on that. For those that are unaware, that's essentially saying, look, we follow secured, governed, compliant software development lifecycle and management. We have auditability in our actual development process. We have a security first design. To Rick, to align kind of to the larger kind of Veeam organization, that's going to be a theme of V8 we'll talk about as well. We're starting to see a lot more benefits of Kasten being part of Veeam here. We've got a lot of goodies that we've been able to introduce in version 8 and more coming, leveraging the years of experience that Veeam brings when it comes to data protection for Virt workloads. But yeah, as part of a larger portfolio, trying to be, ensure that we can help our customers in light of all of the threat actors out there, in light of all the ransomware attacks that we're seeing. We can hopefully be that beacon that can then help our customers either defend, protect, and at the worst case, recover from that as quickly as possible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the business we're in. And talk to us a little bit about one of these specific areas of the security, which is the reduced privileges for some of the services.
For sure. Yeah. So this is the direct effort of one of my peers on the Kasten product team. He and I actually briefly worked for a security organization prior to Veeam. So I was very happy to pull him over, and he's doing great things with the product. And I'll be the first to say I personally have in my past not been the best security steward. So I'm happy that we have an adult in the room who is. And this is the direct result of some of his efforts, is recognizing, look, we don't need to run everything as an admin, right? In fact, we don't want that. Obviously, backup infrastructure tends to have a pretty wide and deep purview of your applications, your infrastructure, your systems. So we want to make sure that we're really espousing that policy of least privilege. So recent with V8, really kind of strategically shifted. In the past, we've just said, hey, look, Kasten, treat it as infrastructure. We need to have fingers and everything. We need to be able to see anything, everything. So we'll be admin for all of our container runtime. Not the best security practice. So Bryant, my peer on the team, and the engineering team have been working diligently to essentially say, hey, look, let's take policy of least privilege. We'll apply that within the product. Again, kind of being a good steward and ensuring that we're minimizing that risk footprint for our customers.
Yeah, and I think that's super important when you talk about risk footprint. And then also it's important to really validate that externally. You mentioned apparently, by the way, the cool kids call it ISO 27K1 for the ISO compliance. Yeah, I just learned that one. But our Veeam Trust Center, by the way, I want to draw everyone's attention to that. This milestone is shared there, but also so many other Veeam the certificates that Veeam holds for compliance, certification, etc. Those are available there, but kind of tell us what this meant for the Kasten team specifically in this product.
For sure, yeah. So, and this was definitely it was and still is an ongoing journey, right? So, it's not. I said stamp of approval, and we're very happy to have that stamp, but it is, an evaluation of our processes, uplift in some cases, optimization from a security perspective. So, this has actually been in the works really for years. And it really kind of, I guess, what tipped the scales recently, we did a number of internal penetration tests. We were able to identify some, I think that we found one critical. We were able to patch it almost immediately. That was kind of the start to say, look, we are performing actual audits, and making sure that we are protecting our customers, but also doing things like secure software bill of materials. And that's absolutely critical, specifically, especially in Kubernetes and containerized environments where packages, container images might be coming in from left, right, and center. So yeah, I think this really is kind of I won't say again stamp of approval, but more a recognition of our engineering and development processes, both as specific Kasten, but also larger Veeam. Definitely big emphasis here. We want to be good. I'll say it again: good stewards of our customers' data. Very least, we do not want to be the reason that somebody was compromised, right? So we're ensuring that we take a security first design.
Indeed, and then here's a look at that trust center. The ISO, the HIPAA Tech 2 attestations, DODN APL. You can even go and look at some of these certifications for some of the things we carry. So if you want to see some of those, they're all there at the trust center. All right, producers have told me that we have a map. Good crowd tuning in today. We've got Canada. Oh, come on, people in the U.S. You got to let me know where you're tuning in from. Drop in the state. We've got Guatemala. That might be a first for me hosting. By the way, I'm going to be there for the Veeam on Tour this year. Let's go over to EMEA. We've got Tunisia, Turkey, Romania. That's me not looking at the notes, just looking at the map. Let's look into the Middle East region. We've got in Africa, we've got Namibia, Tunisia, and Saudi, and Malaysia. What kind of time is it for you in Malaysia? I'm thinking it's midnight. I appreciate you tuning in. It's pretty late. And Tunisia would be down in Africa as well. So thank you all in Namibia for joining. A lot of people, just again, might come back to the map. Let us know what U.S. state or country you're tuning in from. In Argentina, I may have forgot that one. If I forgot one, let me know. But Matt, encryption key, I love this one because we have been on a journey here across the bigger Veeam, and I love seeing these three down here. But talk to us about this new version 8 capability.
For sure. Yeah. This again, kind of going for enterprise and just general maturity when it comes to things, we should all be rotating our keys. We'll put that out there. It's important. Think about, I'll use the example of myself. Like I said, I've not always been the best security example in that, we within engineering and products, sometimes we have to, run dev or test environments. I have definitely been guilty of sharing a secret and an access key via something like Teams or Slack or what have you. Not great security practice. And that's a great example of, okay, once that's in Slack, we want to make sure that's not the key for all of the future because, hopefully if I leave for whatever reason or something, a bus comes and takes me out, we want to make sure that number one, that it's not the same key from years back, and number two, that we have the ability to make sure that from an access and at least privilege perspective, we're not sharing that too widely. So this is really kind of maturation of that. Is that previously, it seems kind of minor, but this is a big deal from a security perspective. That we used to have to annotate, our keys within Kubernetes with Kasten to say, hey, use this one. We now make that completely transparent. So it just makes it much simpler to actually rotate those keys. It's one less barrier. It's already, we know our customers have their hands full with security threats and runtime security. We just want to make sure that we're keeping up with kind of their needs, their demands, and also anticipating some of the challenges they might see when it comes to things like key rotation for backup or encryption.
And I'm not an expert in this space, but the ones that are supported, those are like the ones that I would go to. Those are the ones that I hear that people want and what the market is asking for. So I think that's a great implementation. So let's talk about one of the next main categories about just the operational management improvement. And there are two kind of specific things there. And I'll kind of pontificate a little bit because I remember this notion of the policies. And Michael Cade, who's been on the show a few times, has shown this to us a number of times, and he's shown me the policies. And as they've enhanced over the versions as the Kasten product has progressed, tell us about what's new in the policy engine now.
For sure. Yeah. So, and also as an aside, I think we were discussing earlier, love Michael Cade. Always a good time to hang out with that guy. And if only I could get some of his rugby talent. That's my goal.
I just want the beard. That would go a long way.
That too. Yeah. But yeah, so definitely, I kind of alluded to this earlier in terms of enhancements from a usability perspective. So previously in Kasten, we would enumerate policies, but we were using kind of big tiles, and it wasn't particularly easy to sort through. And you can imagine if you're a large enterprise or if you're looking at backing up a lot of VMs or a lot of different namespaces, that can quickly become unwieldy. So what we've introduced is essentially number one, an optimized view here that we're not taking up large portions of real estate of your screen for each policy, but also the ability to quickly be able to filter and sort. So that way, if you have a problem policy, you can identify it quickly. If you want to focus, we have a potentially many to one relationship between policies and namespaces. So you can focus on one namespace. It just makes things much easier within the product to use. And this was direct feedback from our customers. And, again, kind of anticipating that scaling as we're seeing larger and larger adoption, both of Kubernetes and Kuber workloads.
One comment I have is that this policy engine, and this is showcasing, I guess, my limitation of knowledge here, but I think it's really important to clarify, Matt, this logic goes to any kind of managed Kubernetes platform. I have people asking me about that one in the cloud, that one on-prem. This is a consistent experience wherever we're running Kubernetes. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, we under the Veeam banner, we are software only, much like Veeam backup replication, Veeam beta platform. We're also agnostic as long as it's Kubernetes, a CNCF certified distribution of Kubernetes. So to your point, GKE, EKS, OpenShift, SUSE, RKE2, name your favorite distribution. We will support it, and it'll be a consistent experience across. And moreover, we can actually, a number of our customers are using this, and we built it into the product, is we can actually help customers move or repatriate workloads from one, maybe on-prem to a hyperscaler, or from one hyperscaler to another. We've got a pretty cool thing called the Transform Engine, which I don't think we have in the deck, but definitely worth checking out for those interested in that, where we can, on the fly, essentially make key changes that ensures that our application comes up on the destination. The way I like to tell customers or articulate that is say, hey, look, really Kasten is the difference between performing a recovery to a new site or disaster recovery and having the application come up versus having it come up with a 500 error. Then you've got to go kind of piece together, oh, the database isn't up, or the metadata is not right. So we definitely try to optimize that within the product.
I'm definitely familiar with the transform. So shout out to Michael Cade, who's watching on YouTube, again, dropping the name. But every time we do some of these analyst inquiries, you mentioned the GigaOM Radar, and there's several others that will ask us, do you do this? Do you do that on all these different platforms? And I'll ask Michael Kate these bizarre questions, and he's always like, yeah, we can do it with transforms, or yeah, we can do it with blueprints and things like that. So this product is truly technically superior. And if you're not, sure if you need a Kubernetes backup, just wait till you see what you can do with this. And let's talk about one of the other new version 8 catalog or capabilities here, and that's Restore Point catalog. Is this entirely new or is this updated? Because this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'd say it's more than an iteration of what we had previously. So you were able to see restore points previously, but it was the data was presented in not the most natural way. You would have to go and look at your namespace or look at your application, as we call it in Kasten, and then you could then dive in and say, oh, here's my restore points that are local, here's mine that are sent off or exported to the cluster, and you could choose from that. One big blind spot, and actually I ran into this early in the product when I was onboarding, is we have the ability to manually run policies. Probably a good idea. Often, if you're pushing code or ad hoc, it's good to be able to take an ad hoc one. Previously, we would have kind of an optional screen pop up saying, when do you want to sunset this restore point? But you could just ignore it. And, I did that, right? So I'm learning the product, kind of figuring it out. And then what I ran into is essentially, oh, wait, I didn't set an expiration date. So that restore point is going to live indefinitely on my cluster unless I go in and do a kubectl command and try to find the restore point. So that was one key use case that really inspired this restore point catalog, among just better usability, where it's now we can quickly identify. You can see actually in the screenshot on the far right there, you'll see there's a number of restore points that never expire. Particularly important for our customers long-lived running containerized workloads or VMs where maybe they took an ad hoc snapshot, didn't set an expiration. That can, over time take up a lot of storage, and we can get creative too. We have different retention policies for backup off the cluster versus on the cluster. So definitely a lot of fine-grained granularity there. But similar to the policy engine that we looked at earlier, full ability to sort here, really useful. We can see any snapshots created or backups. I should keep on saying snapshots. Snapshots are not backup. Created or after or before. It just makes it really simple to find those restore points and get back to a happy state more quickly.
Indeed. I just think, again, the intuitiveness is really solid here. I think the third time I'm going to call Michael Cade's name, he likes to say, Kubernetes is hard enough. Kasten's going to make it easy. So this is good stuff. So this will be the last slide. We are going to sneak in a demo here. But Matt, before we stop the share on the slides here and roll the demo, maybe talk a little bit about one or more of these enhanced capabilities here with version 8.
For sure. So freedom of choice, just as a tenant from a product perspective, is close to my heart. I love the open source community. I grew up on Linux, just tooling around with old PCs, and I think I installed Red Hat in 1997 on my old family computer. So this really kind of espouses a lot of that kind of support across different architectures, across different storage, across different Kubernetes distribution. It's kind of this idea of, look, we're not going to lock you into anything. And every release we have something that ties into freedom of choice. In particular with this release, very proud to say, number one, obviously you've supported x86. We've done that for a long time. That is, by and large what we see the most. But we've introduced support both for IBM Power, which we're seeing large enterprise adopt, or potentially reallocating these assets that are Power-based architectures to run Kubernetes workloads, but also ARM, which that's a really interesting use case. ARM specifically, we're starting to see for things like tactical edge or far edge. So things like in oil fields or in maybe a soldier's backpack or something like that. So being able to add that support into Kasten was really necessary for a number of our customers, and it gives a lot of flexibility when it comes to platforming and what you choose. Addition to that, we're introducing export to VDC Vault. So for those unaware on Initiate, I'm sure you've talked about it before, right? VDC Vault is a great way for predictable costs to understand, hey, I'm going to send my backups, off-prem to a nice safe place that, that Veeam and Microsoft can handle for me. So full support for that now within Kasten as well to send that backup data there. ONTAP NAS economy, just support for it. We had a number of customers asking for it. Again, just more diversity in terms of what we can support from a CSI perspective and capability. KDR support, that's Kasten's disaster recovery. That's been in the product for a little while, but we've going back to kind of that maturation, we've enhanced it quite a bit, where we now are only taking incremental snapshots or backups. I keep on saying snapshots. That's incremental backups of ourselves. So just better performance, less storage utilization. Again, going back to that story in terms of a faster ability to get back. And then last thing here, and we'll jump into the demo, is just availability in the Platform One marketplace. So this one takes another close place in my heart. I was actually a part of the effort here. It's good validation, again, kind of that security by design approach, a good validation for our Fed customers as well. I know we were talking about certifications earlier, Rick. I want to throw it out there. FIPS 140-3, something we're very proud of in Kasten. So yeah, definitely if you're a U.S. government employer that's watching this, you can access the P1 marketplace. You do need a .gov email to get to it, though. But with that, let's go ahead and.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And so while you get your share ready, we're switching on the fly. I stopped the share. Matt's going to load the demo. Couple of data points I want to relay. For one, I want to welcome viewers from Mexico, Italy, the UK, and Cote d'Ivoire. I think I said that right. Ivory Coast. See if I got that right out there. But looks like we have the feed up and razzle dazzle dark mode. Matt, walk us through this demo.
For sure. Yeah. So, okay, ignore the red. I'm just going to say this. This is actually an active, we use this within engineering. We use this within product. So this is actually the real product. I'm not giving you a nice shiny demo. So hopefully that gives me some street cred here. But long story short, this is our web UI for Kasten. Want to point out, number one, that we have a web UI, right? So sometimes that's taken for granted especially in the Kubernetes world. A lot of people say, oh, I can just do this in YAML and script it. And we say, yes, you can, but do you really want to? Do you want to write your own, backup solution, which some people do? But, just having a nice friendly web UI, very important here, and think about being in that hot seat and be able to quickly recover. A couple things to highlight. So this cluster is interesting. This is actually deployed in the Columbus lab. We're giving Michael Cade a lot of love today. I'm going to give him some more. He really helped us secure some hardware here for this OpenShift virtualization lab. And it's actually really helped us from a product perspective. We're able to kind of test things in real time with our engineers, work with Red Hat. Actually, it's one of my roles. So we're able to collaborate quite a bit more. So we're looking at VM backups here. I've got a number of VMs deployed just to show you my cluster. This is OpenShift virtualization for those that haven't seen it. I've deployed all these via a nice fun bash script. You'll be, Michael Cade, for who's watching, you'll be happy to see we've got a new network trunked in. So we're using not just the lab network, we actually have a dedicated one. Again, it's kind of a minor thing, but for those vSphere admins out there, this is how OpenShift, through bridge networking, and then also potentially through things like, third-party integrations, the ability to have networks trunked in, so you're not always behind a NAT or something like that. Again, kind of a Kubernetes thing, but worth mentioning there. Quickly diving in, I know we saw the screenshot earlier, but this is the policy dashboard. These are all my policies. I can see what's succeeded, what's failed. You can see here my colleague Matt Bader has been working on some stuff in the back end, so we got to go take a look at that report, why that's failing. But pretty handy there. And then really want to dive into our restore point catalog. And just to show you, let's take a look and look for ones that don't have any expiration. And I'm so happy again. This is what solved my problem. You see, I've got a number of restore points, both locally and off the cluster, that have no expiration. So these will live on indefinitely until I manually go in and either restore from or remove or export or what have you. Last but not least, do want to highlight our virtual machine dashboard. So this enumerates all of the VMs found on the cluster. Pretty handy here in that if we have the QEMU guest agent installed, we can actually enable guest OS freeze. Again, maybe it sounds a little basic, but remember, KubeVirt's pretty new. Virtualization of VMs in Kubernetes is relatively new. Having things like guest freeze becomes very important during backup. And for my more old school VMers or vSphere guys, you totally understand why, but really ensures that we've got a good recoverable backup that we can recover to quickly. And then, high level, we talked about transform sets, lots of examples in here. We can change ingresses, we can change storage classes as we move across clouds or moving from a hybrid environment or from on-premises to a public cloud. and of course, all the goodies you'd expect, usage and reports. Definitely keep an eye out for more enhancements around this. But today I'll get a nice view around my utilization, although we'll have to go plug in and see why no data is available. This is probably why the report's failing, actually. So yeah, I think very quickly, Rick, I think I just threw a bunch out there, but I did want to highlight this is what Kasten looks like. These are some of the new components. And to get hands-on with it, definitely check out the interactive demo on the release blog, on Veeam's blog.
Well, that and at the community hub, we have the Kubernetes corner, great learning spot. Jeff, one of the viewers, shares a lot of stuff there. Hey, Matt, this is fantastic stuff, and we are going to wrap it up right here. A couple of things I want to draw everyone's attention to. Final call on Veeam content. You can go to veeamon.com, and I also posted something at the community hub where I showcase the final call for this cool content before it goes to a new place. We'll stay tuned for that. Next week, we have a Veeam 100 show and then a special Veeam Unwrapped broadcast going up on Tuesday. So much going on the Veeam team. But Matt, thank you so much for joining me here today on Tech Bites.
Awesome. Very happy to be here, Rick. Thank you as always, and big thank you to hosting this awesome podcast.
Oh, I love doing it. This is fun stuff, but I couldn't do it without Jeffrey coming live from the Barncade and then Felicia rocking our social media stuff. I could not do it without them. Thank you both. All right. On behalf of the whole Veeam team, everyone, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.